that for a second. I was like, oh no,
Oh,
Skynet
no.
striking
Oh, no.
again. All right. Well, speaking of striking, it looks like it struck the markets. The markets are in a total free-for-all. Somewhat. We fell pretty hard. I'm just going to pull up CoinGecko just so we can see the severity of the bleeding there. We have down 5.9% on Bitcoin, 5.2%. But if you go a little bit lower, guys, BNB down 10%. We're going to get into the reasons why. Even XRP and Cardano couldn't avoid the fate here, 7.8 and 6.7. Well, Crypto Kid, you do a little TA here, and I was looking at the markets and looked like it maybe got buoyed by some support here. When we fell down, did it hit some support, or am I just imagining lines? Am I reading the crypto tea leaves a little too hard?
Honestly, so we broke the very important level of $26,600. Now we're approaching a very critical support of $25,250. So if we break this level, I do think we could head down to the 24.2, 24.3K range. So the level that we're at right now is very, very critical for Bitcoin to hold. We just broke down from that falling wedge on the daily. So let's see if we can hold this level. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty bad for Bitcoin.
All right, pretty bad. Well, Army Piper, some people are seeing Bitcoin on sale right now. They see 5% off. They say, hey, I thought about buying some yesterday. I can get 5% more with the same amount of money. Is it a good buying opportunity, or are you maybe looking at that next level Crypto Kid was alluding to?
So this morning we had a lot of indicators that popped in on the charts, and we were looking at it this morning on the show on Investing Bros. We saw that there was a lot of downtrends on oscillators, RSI, the trend indicator, pro indicator that we use was showing that we were switching over to a bearish trend long before the drop this morning. So I will point out that that downtrend was already built in, but definitely the news today did not help on pushing it off the rest of the cliff there. I do think that we're at some really strong support currently right now in this 25.5 range. That's what we've been calling for about a month and a half, about a month now on over on the show. But right now, if you look at the MFI money flow is actually coming back up right now, even on the daily chart. So I think we have a really strong possibility that we might hit a bounce maybe down into the low 24s. But I do think 24,000 range. But I do think that there's a lot of buyers waiting to scoop in, move that liquidity. You got to have downward markets to make the markets go back up, because really it's that liquidity re-rolling back in at lower levels that keeps price moving when you don't have new people really willing to buy right now. So this is actually a good thing. It's making the charts healthy. I like it. I think 24.5 to 25.5 is the bottom that we should drop to on this news with the SEC. So.
All right. Well, we're speaking of the SEC news. I'm glad you brought that up. Let's just show their tweet in typical Gary Gensler fashion. They couldn't, not use this opportunity to throw out something cheeky against the crypto industry. Here they have a quote from the Binance chief compliance officer. We are operating as a effing unlicensed securities exchange in the USA, bro. Here they have the actual complaint. Let me pull that up from the SEC. You can see it right here. They listed some coins as well. We're going to get into the coins, but they charged them with a few things. BNB staking and BUSD selling unregistered securities here. Commingling funds. They're also wash trading. And last but not least, they're soliciting these U.S. customers. Well, Ben Armstrong, I'm seeing a lot of red candles. I see Gary Gensler. They've talked about this rumor for years. I think since 2018, the SEC has been going after Binance. Well, it finally happened. Is it all over? Should I jump off the ledge, or can you talk me off the ledge?
I mean, what's going to happen? They're going to get a fine. I mean, it's going to be like this. Do y'all not understand that's how the SEC operates? It's all about money. However, I tell you, I was talking with some people today that are in the know behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Binance is supposedly has already committed $1 billion to fight the SEC. $1 billion. You guys know how much XRP has spent in 2 years? $200 million.
Yeah.
$1 billion. They can afford every lawyer on the planet at one time, pretty much. So this is going to go very bad for the SEC. And at the same time, the SEC is also going after Coinbase, supposedly. Supposedly they're the next one. Like, so far they got an exploratory letter, and I forgot what they call that. Whatever kind of letter they got from the SEC. I forgot what it was called. What is the Wells notice? Yeah, Wells notice. Thank you for
Wells
that,
notice.
Rice.
Yeah.
They got a Wells notice. Supposedly, they're about to get officially charged by the SEC as well. So this may not be the end of the dumping. If Coinbase does get charged by the SEC this week, expect to see more red candles probably. It's still not going to push us down much further than we are, I don't think. I was listening to what Army Piper was saying, and I think that I agree that I think what we're going to see is we're going to see momentum in the middle of the month that's going to carry us kind of back up to where we were. That's what I think, and then we're still going to be seeing sideways action for a while. But like, there's so much of this is Gary Gensler's last stand. Like Gary Gensler's out. There's no way Gary Gensler sees the end of the Binance case. Just like there was no way Jay Clayton saw the end of the other case. And you could make the argument that Jay Clayton, dropped the XRP case and then dipped. Well, you made the argument that Gary Gensler could be dropping Coinbase and Binance and dipping. So it'll be very interesting to see all this play out. But like I was telling everybody in the live stream this morning, like there's nothing to worry about. Like this is not a problem. Like, do we think crypto's going away? Do we think Binance is shutting down the biggest exchange in the world? Like, guys, wake up. This is not that big of a deal.
All right. Well, CZ, we did calmly tweet out the 4. Rice, Ben, he brought up Coinbase. I'm glad he brought up Coinbase. There are the rumors of, potential action going to be brought against them by the SEC. Just off this news, Coin stock fell 10%. Let's say in the coming weeks, they are giving a Wells notice, and then the stock falls a further double-digit decline. Would you see that as an attractive buying opportunity? Are you long-term bullish on Coinbase's ability to operate in the U.S.?
As far as their ability, yes. Stock, I don't mess with any stocks. Nothing TradFi. So I really wouldn't touch the coin stock itself. But Coinbase, they can fight this ultimately as well. And I personally agree with everything that Ben has said so far. Ben has a lot of inside information, and I appreciate you sharing that, Ben, because what we're seeing is the United States government attacking cryptocurrency. We have the launch of FedNow, and then we have the launch of probably some form of a CBDC, whatever they want to call it. It's going to be a programmable currency. And with that being said, they're going to be attacking cryptocurrency in every single vector that they possibly can. They can't ban peer-to-peer transactions. They can make the on-off ramps very difficult. So people need to start understanding why you might have gotten involved in crypto in the first place. Because I really think things are about to really hit the fan in a macro environment as well. We're just focusing on the cryptocurrency market. We're not talking about what's happening in the rest of the world, what's happening with the US dollar, what's potentially happening with interest rates, what's potentially happening with de-dollarization, what's potentially happening over in Europe with the conflicts that's going on. So there's a lot of unquestionable things, plus the banking sector. I've talked about the cracks in a window and how when it first hits, like a rock breaks your window, you get that first initial chip in your window and maybe a little crack. But if you don't get it fixed, it starts to spider out. And there was a report that came out last year, Q3 of last year, from the Federal Reserve talking about over 277 banks being insolvent. And we've only seen a handful of those banks so far this year. And those handful of banks have exceeded 2008 already. So I see the situation getting worse before it gets better. And if you combine that with the attacks on cryptocurrency, attacking a Binance, attacking a Coinbase, and everything that's happened over the past year and a half that we've seen as well, just doesn't make the public have faith in cryptocurrency. So when they have the introduction of their central bank digital currency, it'll be a little bit more inviting. But that's where our job is, to educate people about the power of what cryptocurrency is, to decentralize cryptocurrencies out there, especially Bitcoin, and the power that it offers us against the legacy system.
All right. Well, speaking of the legacy system, we have Priggy talking about the system here. Army Piper, you probably have a good insight into this. How much of our freaking tax dollars are they going to end up spending on all of this? You heard Ben say, potentially $1 billion war chest. Is SEC's lawyers shaking in their knees? Do they want to take it to the courts like a Ripple Labs case, or are they looking for the first deal that is going to be handed their way?
I got to tell you, I think we're heading towards interesting times because we got a lot of the politicians right now that are, they're talking about pro crypto this and pro crypto that. This may be the opportunity for them where they get to step in and go, hey, look, you guys are wasting taxpayer money. We've had enough of these lawsuits that are just going to be drug out and just a waste of time, waste of man hours, a waste of federal dollars, and a waste of the taxpayers' hard-earned cash. So we're not going to let you do this and keep doing this over and over and over again. He's already been set in front of Congress and had to answer a bunch of questions, old Dirty Gary has, and couldn't answer the simplest of questions, but he was able to tell them everything about what they wanted to hear. So they weren't happy with them. They were ready to threaten and fire at him right there. So, we've already seen some of those bills come out. I don't see why this wouldn't be an opportunity for those politicians to stand up and look at the SEC and go, look, you're not doing this. We've already told you that you need to come out with regulation. You're still enforcing through punishment instead of policy. So let's just go ahead and get you out of the way here. You're going to stop this lawsuit. You're going to stop wasting taxpayers' money. I actually think he just presented himself with a great opportunity to be drugged through the mud by the politicians again that are looking to find something to stand on. You got to have it. If you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything, right? I think this is a chance for those people that are saying, look, we stand with you on crypto. Now they have the perfect play and set up for them to show that they mean what they're saying. So, me as a voter, I look for actions, not words. This is a chance for you guys to show some action to go and match up with those words, because the video needs to match the audio if you want my vote. So.
Well, who would have thought that Gary Gensler would bring the politicians together? Just, not in the right way that maybe he was intending here. Well, speaking of intentions, we actually pulled an excerpt straight from the court document here. Let's just, get it straight from the horse's mouth here. They are saying we have a few securities: Solana, Cardano, Polygon, Filecoin, Cosmos, Sand, Mana, Algorand, Axie Infinity, and Cody. Sand, of course, is Mana is Decentraland. Sand is a sandbox there. Well, I'm looking at something. I see a little theme emerging, Crypto Kid, and that is play to earn and metaverse tokens. Going after Sand, going after Mana, going after Axie Infinity. Clearly, they don't want people your age to be able to play a video game and earn a living from it. Selling you the NFT shovel might constitute as a, we're in together on this investment, and don't worry, I'm going to work to prop the price of your shovel here. Is this going to kill crypto gaming? Can you kill crypto gaming? Are you going to continue crypto gaming even though these could be securities?
Honestly, I don't think I don't think in the long term they're going to be classified as securities. I think they'll find a way through it, either through taxation, through game launchers such as Epic Games, etc. Because once there's thousands and there's billions of gamers, in fact, around the world, and I know personally friends that spend tens of hours playing games, and the moment you can monetize those hours playing games, like I remember like 2 years ago, I was a huge Call of Duty fan, and my parents were like, come on, get off it. And I was like, I had to study and everything. But once you actually provide value, monetizable value for the gaming that you play as a kid, it just provides financial literacy. It's such a cool aspect. But the thing is, right, if people can make as much money, right, from playing games, simply from playing games, compared to a real 9-to-5 job, like, for example, being a doctor, engineer, etc., then of course you lose the employment in these very valuable sectors. So if you zoom out and look at the macro perspective, are they trying to, block play to earn because it's so dangerous to these, the necessary employed jobs that governments need? That's an interesting topic. But, in the long term, I think that play to earn games will really change everything in terms of gaming. So that's what I think.
No, that's actually a really good point. There's countries overseas where, yes, school kids, what job do you want when you grow up? The number one answer will be astronaut. You come to America, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it is influencer or a YouTuber. So maybe this is hey, you're not going to play Axie Infinity. You're not going to sell the RuneScape skins to pay your rent there. All right. Well, Ben Armstrong, there's another coin on here. I wanted to pull up that I'm a little bit worried about. I'm not going to lie. They're attacking one of the top cryptocurrencies. That's Chucky Hoskinson's coin, ADA. They're coming after ADA. They say it's a security. ICO's in Japan. Should the Cardano community be worried?
Should they be worried? I think they should be eating a lot of crow. I think for all the people that attacked XRP, from the Cardano community for so long. And I told him, I said, go look. There is a video on my channel that is called Cardano is a Security or something to that effect, where just about 3 months ago, I made a video and I told you this is where it was going. Cardano people said, no, can't. Oh, no, we're too good. Guys, it's the same reason that XRP people actually got upset with me the other day, because I said it's not guaranteed they win the case. The government is corrupt. It doesn't matter if you're centralized or decentralized. It doesn't matter the merits of your case. What matters is Gary Gensler is a Gestapo Nazi who wants to do anything that he can to destroy crypto because he's bribed and works on the behalf of banks. Period. That's what it is. So is Cardano a security, or is ADA a security? Absolutely not. That's asinine. ASA 10, ASA 11, ASA 12, ASA 13. I would even go so far as to say. But will this cost them a lot of money? Will this cost IOHK a lot of money? I don't know, because this is the backdoor plan. I mean, because everybody knows Gary Gensler loves the backdoor. Even with his banking broad, Elizabeth Warren, I'm sure he likes to visit the backdoor as well. But the fact is that they tried this with the Coinbase case, and we probably need to do a video here, honestly, where we talk about the Coinbase insider trading story, because this was really, I think this was the first time that the SEC tried this route where they were going to basically sue an individual and say they violated securities laws. And then on the backside, once again, there's Gary Gensler again. On the backside, they're going to consider a bunch of assets to be securities. And let's see, right here, it talks about the settlement. The one brother was sentenced to 24 years in prison. The one was to 10 months in prison and asked to forfeit some money. One guy had to give up $30K. One guy had to give up about $100,000. But nothing in the settlement declared that what they actually did was securities fraud or was insider trade with securities. So, they keep trying this route where, they're doing it with FTX, where they have the FTX case and they're using that to consider FTT a security. But, and I know this because actually we talked to one of the projects that is considered to be a security in one of these backdoor routes. And it was very interesting that they said they're not allowed to talk about it. They can't come out and say they're not securities, but yet they actually haven't gotten anything from the SEC saying they're a security. So it's almost, I want you guys to think about this. It's almost like the SEC knows they can't win these cases, and they know they don't have enough firepower to go after all of these major projects that have so much money that can pay in lawyer fees. Like I said, Binance can pay $1 billion. XRP's paying $200 million. You don't think Cardano's got that kind of money? You don't think Polygon's got that kind of money? It's a way to throw them under the bus and hurt them and get them scared without having to actually go toe-to-toe with them in battle in court.
All right. Well, RiceTVx, what do you think? I mean, why does he hate Cardano so much?
I don't think it's Cardano specifically. I think it's just cryptocurrency. And I wouldn't even say he hates it. What I would say is that Gary Gensler is a puppet. And I've said this before. I mean, he's a Goldman Sachs guy. He was a former CFTC chair. He was the assistant treasury of secretary, and he's the head of the SEC. He's good at doing what he's told. So he is going to be untouchable until they need a scapegoat, because what took place with the investigations with FTX and all the different grilling that happened with the politicians, asking why he wasn't doing his job, questioning why he was stifling the whole industry for the United States as far as cryptocurrency and blockchain is concerned, and he still came out of it. It's because he's a puppet. He's being controlled by other people. And those other individuals that are controlling him are a lot more powerful than he otherwise. That's why we're going to see this attack on cryptocurrency continue. You're going to see, like Ben has said before, the weaponization of crypto in politics. And it sucks that it's going to become a very party bipartisan kind of thing, where Republicans and Democrats are going to be playing this against one another and not looking out for the best interest of our nation. That's why I keep saying to people not to support any one of these political parties, because it's the right wing, left wing of the same bird. And unfortunately, that's just where we are. This attack on cryptocurrency is not going to end. People need to stand for what they believe in. I've encouraged people to get involved into politics, whether it's writing to your constituents, informing your local community, trying to educate people so that they can also contact their constituents. You need to let your state and federal representatives know how you want things to be done as far as legislation, because this is supposed to be a government of, for, and by the people. And people need to realize that, take the power back, and make these politicians the public servants that they're supposed to be. They're supposed to represent your vote. I would love to get to a point where we can replace politicians with smart contracts and use blockchain-based voting. I'm looking forward to that day, because the only reason that we are voting in any of these individuals is to represent our vote. And that was something that needed to be done back in a time where we don't have the technology, where we didn't have the technology that we do have today. And with today's technology, we don't need these corrupt politicians anymore.
I just got word from the Electorate Commission, and they said, as far as voting on the blockchain, fork no. Ben, go ahead.
Fork no.
Yeah.
Fork you.
I wanted to really quickly, I wanted to see if I could share this real quick. Let's see. Share the screen. Go here. SEC. Here's, I just want to show you guys. This is very important. Like, everybody says like, oh, the SEC is going to come after you, bit boy, blah, 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 for this and this and that. Well, first of all, they got about 748 other projects and cases to go after first. Okay. Second of all, could they come after me? Theoretically, yes. They could come after me like they could come after anybody. But let me show you the difference. Let me show you exactly why they should be scared to come across somebody like me as opposed to somebody like this Coinbase insider trading. Okay, this is from the actual settlement agreement. This is the press release that they put out. Coinbase manager agreed to settle insider trading charges related to crypto asset securities. Now, it says here, Securities and Exchange Commission today announced that former product manager Ishan Wahi and his brother Nikhil agreed to settle. Here are the charges they had. A scheme to trade ahead of multiple announcements regarding at least 9 crypto asset securities that would be made available for trading on the Coinbase platform. They each agreed to be permanently enjoined from violating Section 10B of the Securities Exchange Act and rule, and to pay disgorgement of ill-gotten gains plus prejudgment interest. But what's really interesting here is notice nothing in what they agreed to said that they messed with securities. Come down here and you actually look at the charge. The charge here says this is what they agreed to. They agreed to conspiracy to commit wire fraud. That's what they pled guilty to. That
it's like taking a plea for the deal.
That's right. They did it for the deal because they can't afford, these guys can't afford to fight the SEC for years and years and years. Well, let me bet your bottom dollar. Let me bet your bottom dollar here that if, in fact, they were to come after somebody like me, I'm going to hold their feet to the fire, and they're going to have to prove that those are securities, 100%. And if they can't prove that those are securities, that negates the entire thing. Because this game of the SEC just playing around and saying everything's a security, it's BS, but they're not going to pull this against people that can really fight tooth and nail. And if they do, it's going to be against Binance, where they know it's going to be a 10-year case, and this is all going to be settled way ahead of time. I bet your bottom dollar, I'm not pleading security to anything for things that are not securities. There is one thing that is active in the world of crypto that they consider to be a security and actually won and said it's security. That's the sale of library tokens. That's literally it. Why do we continue to give the SEC this utmost respect and say, oh, they everything's a security?
We shouldn't. We shouldn't.
Yes.
They're playing dirty. Like with the library case, they said that the lawyers said that they don't care about utility. This is, they're playing dirty. Like you said, charging a coin as being a security without actually charging the coin and charging an exchange for offering security doesn't even sound like it's legal to do that. You would first have to set precedent that it's a security first, and then that you can go after the exchange for offering a security. So it's asked backwards. Also, the way that, and it's not just Gensler, it's the SEC period. Because even under Jay Clayton, there was some really fishy, very dirty, corrupt stuff happening. People need to look at
there's a lot of people underneath him that have said that they absolutely disagree with everything he's doing. So that the average worker at the SEC, I don't think they share his views.
But your heads. Even Jay Clayton wasn't as much of a good guy as people want to make him out to be. The Veritasium case under Reggie Middleton, what they did to him, because they literally broke him. He tried to fight it as much as he could with his money and eventually ran out. and he had to sign a plea deal that basically said that he can't confirm or deny anything that the SEC says, and the SEC is basically saying that he's a fraud offering securities.
All right, good stuff there. You guys have
BS.
inspired me to buy a crypto live on the show. I market bot Mana. That's right. I'm bullish on gaming, and hey, you call it what you want. I know I just bought 100 of it. Yeah, let's go. And hey, speaking of which, if you're fired up from that as well, how about you go ahead, hit that like button. Let me check the numbers right here. Guys, we only have 287. We got over 1,200 people watching. I know we get about 30% of us to hit that like button, so please go ahead. All right, well, let's move on and talk about other big news that maybe got a little overshadowed by the SEC news. You know, just one of the world's largest wallet providers got hacked over the weekend, and people lost millions of dollars, folks. Yes, that happened. It happened with Atomic Wallet. Let's read their statement here. At the moment, less than 1% of our monthly active users have been affected, reported. Last drain transaction was confirmed over 40 hours ago. This is from last night, so we're over 50 hours at this point. Security investigation is ongoing. We'll report victim addresses to Exchange of Blockchain Analytics. Well, some sleuths, they looked into it, and at current numbers right now, at least $50 million was just drained from people's wallets here. 5 largest victims, just them combined $17 million. The largest victim lost $7 million on Tron of all chains there. They took down, it was a download server, get.atomicwallet.io. They took it down on concerns that perhaps was a little software exploit after an update, a malicious update that transferred private keys to the perpetrator once the people at home opened the app. So they opened their app on the phone. That initiated the transfer where the guy got in and just stole all of their crypto there. Well, Ben, there's a lot of crypto wallet issues lately. Maybe you've done a video on this. What kind of precautions can we take?
Well, you know, I mean, it on some level, and people really don't like this answer, on some level, you have to extend trust. You know, I mean, we're not at a place yet in blockchain where everything is ran by smart contracts, where everything is decentralized. And, you know, like in the Ledger situation, you know, if you're going to be using Ledger, then you got to trust that they're not going to update the firmware to where they can steal your money. You know, if you're going to be using Atomic Wallet or one of these, like we've looked at some of these hot wallets before, they're very secure, but yet in the intricacies of their code, there is a way for some of their employees maybe to get access to pull stuff out. So, you know, on some level, you've got to extend trust, but, you know, not your keys, not your crypto. If you don't have the private keys, it's not yours. You know, anything that, you know, you're storing assets on, make sure you're diversifying across several different wallets. Don't put all your stuff in any one wallet. We trust the Coinbase wallet. We trust the Trust wallet. We trust, you know, Exodus wallet. There's a lot of ones that we trust, but yet we still have to extend some trust there. So the only thing that, you know, outside of a paper wallet, you know, if you have a paper wallet, if anybody even knows what that is, that's probably the safest way. But do you really trust a piece of paper if there's a flood, you know? Yeah. So, or your house catches on fire. So everything's going to have some vulnerabilities, just like your bank account, your identities, your mortgages, they all have vulnerabilities. Nothing's absolutely perfect, but we believe in crypto and blockchain, we can get it to a place where it is pretty much perfect over time.
All right. Well, Army Piper, I mean, are cold wallets losing credibility? I think even Vitalik won't use a cold wallet. I mean, can we even advise people to use cold wallets moving forward? Oh, muted.
So I think every time that, yeah, I got you. Thanks, brother. I think that every time that we have a, you know, we get a trust in something, right? Whether it be a hot wallet, a cold wallet, whatever. We find a wallet that we like, we get onto it, and then all of a sudden something happens. This guy was able to hack into this wallet, or they're going to do this upgrade and it's going to release your keys in 3 parts out to 3 different companies. You know, so no matter where you go, I think there's always going to be something that comes up that's bad for where you're storing your crypto. At the end of the day, it's kind of the best practice to start splitting it out there everywhere. If you're going to absolutely keep your whole portfolio safe, because if something gets hacked in one place, you might be okay in the other, right? So, but at the end, I mean, it's horrible. Like don't know where I'm supposed to keep my money at, but I do know definitely where I'm not keeping it, and that's in a bank, because I don't need anybody to hack it. The banks are going to ruin all my money anyways, and lock it up and not let me get to it. So the one thing I will point out is when it comes to this upgrade, here's a solution. And I heard BitBoy talk about this, heard Ben talk about this the other day on his show, where he was talking about liquidity lockups. I think it's a great idea. How about these wallets? They all put a liquidity reserve, and it's there for, hey, look, if something happens, this is the money that we have. You don't have FDIC, we've got this money. This is our guarantee to you that our wallet is worth using. So that money is locked up there. When they have these updates, instead of releasing it out on everybody's wallet without it being back tested 100 times, why don't they release it first on that liquidity wallet that they put up as a liquidity reserve? Then not only do you have your guarantee to the people that, look, we've got money here to, in case something happens, we can do small payouts, this and that, but they've also got their money on the line when it comes to updates that they're releasing on their blockchain or on their wallet. So if they would do something like that, I think we would be much better off. And it might even be a way for, the liquidity lockup on new tokens to even be put into play. Look, if we lock this up and we do an upgrade, we're going to test it on our liquidity reserve, guaranteeing that it's not going to be your money that gets hit and be out of our pocket. So I'm tired of my money being the test dummy for somebody else's bad programming. So.
All right. Well, I'm glad you brought up FDIC. I want to read a couple chats real quick. One super sub, Crypto Billy, tongue punch the like button for this panel. Thank you very much. We got a great panel on today. And Rudy Poo says the best wallet, gold and silver in your hands. Most secure wallet, bar none. Well, what if you have arthritis? What if you have gloves on? It might not always work.
Well, if you have too much gold and silver?
There you go. Hey. Well, that would be a good thing. Then you wear rings like the Ledger CEO. Well,
like
Rice.
What if you don't live in a Second Amendment state? And somebody decides
what if you live in one of America's large cities? Probably not a good idea then. All right. Well, Rice, I want to ask you. He brought up a good point about FDIC insured. What do you think the future of crypto is going to look like as far as custody? Is it going to be a world where everyone has seed phrases, or is it a world where we all have an account on a centralized exchange that is FDIC insured?
Great question. Unfortunately, there's lots of people who like to ride their bikes with training wheels and don't know how to wear their big boy and big girl pants. So we're going to probably have both. I mean, we're going to have people that want to self-custody and people that don't want to take the responsibility. So there will be an offering for both. Now, with cryptocurrency, I mean, we're still early. We're going to have bugs, vulnerabilities, exploits, hacks. I mean, to me, it's part of the learning process with the way that we're in this so early. But there's some things that I've learned recently that have been alarming. And one thing, with this atomic wallet hack is I feel like it probably has something to do with an insider. They haven't posted on their Twitter since 2 days ago on June the 3rd, letting people know that there was an exploit.
They said specifically it was not an insider, Rice. We talked to them direct.
You did talk to them direct because it seems very targeted.
It's a vulnerability. It was a vulnerability in the code, according to them. We talked to them direct, or someone on my team did. It wasn't me.
Being that some of the wallets, some of the large wallet, it just happened to be like some of the larger wallet accounts. So there's some things that just don't feel right to me about it. But in addition, I've done some interviews with some different hardware wallets, and I've been learning too that some people have, like, some of these companies, and it could be with any kind of wallet, whether it's on your smartphone or not, are using technologies that they're signing NDAs with. And there's a lot of bugs and exploits already in there. So what's interesting about everything that's kind of been transpiring over the past few months with crypto, with the ordinals, kind of the scaling debate, seeing what's happening to these wallets, it's almost bringing us back to the early days. Because like Ben said, I mean, one of the safest things that we can use, it's not the easiest and it's not the safest, as far as longevity, are these paper wallets. There's no way you're going to get those hacked. You do, unfortunately. I did watch the video that the interview that Ben did with the guy from Ledger, which I thought was a great interview. And like was said in that interview, and like Ben said today, you got to trust the entity that you're using. And what really sucks about saying that is cryptocurrency is supposed to be, you don't trust, you verify. But in a lot of these instances, when you're dealing with like Ledger, for example, having some of their their code being closed and not open source, you don't know what's there. They could have had exploits to retrieve people's private keys from the get-go. We don't know because of the way that it's closed. So looking into open source ideas, I think what people need to take responsibility for themselves. So when you put your big boy pants on and you take your training wheels off, you're going to actually have to do your own research, and it takes time to make sure that you're not just listening to what somebody's saying. So just because Ben says something or I say something or anybody that you watch or anybody on this show says something doesn't mean that it's true. You should always fact check for yourself. And I know it can be time consuming, but it's part of being a responsible individual.
I'm going to copy, I'm just going to copy Vitalik and put my seed in 2 different continents. I just got to get rich enough to be able to jet set around the world like he can. All right, we're going to wrap it up here with Crypto Kid. He has a math exam shortly. True story, like 4 hours. I think he has to sleep. Crypto Kid, I have now promoted you. You are CFO of Atomic Wallet. You're Chief Financial Officer here. Should we reimburse affected users?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, if you want to keep trust. I mean, it's just so unfortunate. You know, we have bad things after another. And, you know, to really, for the sake of the crypto space itself, we need to build up that reputation. Like when I go to the street, you know, ask my friends, you know, what do you think about crypto? They're like, oh, it's that scam, right? And, you know, we really need to fix that reputation that crypto has. And, you know, until we get to that point where everything is decentralized and everything is secure, we need to, you know, when stuff like this happens, we really need to reimburse and, you know, fix these mistakes that happen. So hopefully they do fix it. Otherwise, you know, it wouldn't be good PR for themselves. And, you know, it would really lose more trust in crypto, more so than, you know, what we already have anyway. So, but yeah, for sure, they really need to reimburse it if they can.
Well, I did a little deep dive in. I did go to school for accounting. I put on my accounting hat. It looks like they only raised 10 million in funding. And then I was trying to find their financials. Let's just say it might be tough for them to come up with 50 million just off my brief cursory glance. But again, I'm not the CFO as that guy. We're kidding, of course. All right, well, that is all we have time for. And Rice ended up taking it from Ben right there at the end. Ben thought he was going to win, and Rice said, "Hold for a second, my friend."
Hold up.
But Rice
Wait a
TV,
minute.
feel free, take us away. Leave us with some parting thoughts, please.
Well, I appreciate everybody for tuning in for today's ATB. Make sure you guys are following all the guests. I would encourage you guys. My channel has been heavily shadow banned. Everybody's views are down. So make sure you're watching everybody's channels, keeping up with the views. But my channel particularly, I've been putting out a lot of content that has not been watched. Nobody knows it's coming out. So please take time to watch my 3rd interview with G. Edward Griffin, my interview with the creator of Stamps, the SRC20s. There's lots of great content. And again, make sure you're following the rest of the guests and get outside and touch grass.
All right, Crypto Kids, first time on the show. Best thing you got, dude, go down there, check the links, click on them. Hey, maybe make sure you're subbed to these channels. Maybe leave a comment or a like. That's all we got. Until next time, be calm. The markets will be calm. You'll be calm. Let's just hold on to our Satoshis. Around the blockchain out.